And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Well, hello everybody. My name is Brian Brettschneider. I'm a senior climate forecaster with the National Weather Service Alaska region, and I am providing some backup duties today, and I'm going to walk you through our Alaska weather marine forecast. So please bear with me if I mispronounce anything or get anything wrong, but let's start to walk through it. So first thing we'll do is we'll start with Sunday's sea ice analysis. This is from the Alaska Sea Ice Desk, the ASIP, the Sea Ice Program. And you can see that we've got our solid ice greater than 80% concentration up here from Wrangel Island and working our way over back toward getting close to Banks Island here. Now the ice has actually started to grow, and we have passed our seasonal minimum of ice, and we're starting to get new ice that's forming along the edge of the ice that survived over the summer. So now you can expect these ice lines to start drifting southward as you're watching every day the marine program. And you should be watching every day, or you should feel bad. Okay, so today's weather. Okay, the big story is a strong low pressure system in the western Bering Sea. Okay, so 973 millibars. That's a pretty strong storm. You can get a lot stronger than that, but this is still nothing to sneeze at. And we have our occluded front, a warm front, the blue cold front coming through, stationary front, and that's approaching the west coast of the mainland. And that's going to bring wind, rain, coastal erosion, high seas, all the things that make maritime operations a challenge. It's all going to be happening over here, except for freezing spray. But this is going to be some noteworthy marine conditions that people really need to be aware of. We also have a low pressure here down south of Haida Gwaii here and south of the southern part of the Panhandle with a big occluded front right here. And that's going to create some wind and some marine hazards for the southern part of the Panhandle. But the big story again is this low pressure up here. And then on Wednesday, we're going to see that low pressure drift eastward over toward the Kotzebue area. We're just south of the Bering Strait. It weakens to 986 millibars, but it's typical that these storms, the central pressure rises as it moves inland. But that does not minimize the potential impacts. So we're going to still have strong winds. So we got the counterclockwise winds coming around this, and that's going to bring a southerly flow up here into the Nome area, up the YK Delta area. It's going to bring a lot of wind, high seas, and so on, and precipitation. Okay, so looking at our marine wind and seas forecast, first we're going to start down in southeast. And here on the nearshore coastal waters, 10 knots, 10 knots, 10 knots, 15 and 20. So we're increasing down to 20 when we get down to Prince of Wales Island. 4 foot, 5 foot, and then down to 6 foot seas once we get all the way down here to the south. And then for our inside channel areas, we're looking at 10 knot winds at Skagway or Juneau, Petersburg, and 20 knots down by Ketchikan and Metlakatla, with seas running about 2 feet in the northern channels and down to 4 or up to 4 feet for the southern channels. Okay. Now looking at Wednesday, we've got winds increasing a little bit. So 15, 10, 15, 15, 15. It's kind of interesting. This arrow is pointed the different direction. But generally, surrounding the low pressure down here, we're going to have winds coming from the northeast. So 15 knot winds. But look how these seas are higher once we get to Wednesday. 7, 8 foot seas. Definitely increasing seas down there. And then for the inside channels, 15 knots, 10 knots, 10 knots, 2 to 3 foot seas, about the same. But really the big difference here is the outside coastal waters. Okay, moving into South Central, so Cook Inlet, Prince William Sound area, 10 to 15 knot winds, and 2 to 3 foot seas are the rule. Maybe 4 foot seas once we get, as we head toward getting over toward Yakutat, 15 down here between the Kenai Peninsula and Kodiak Island, but overall pretty consistent, 10 to 15 knot winds, 2 to 4 foot seas. That was on Tuesday. We're looking at Wednesday, a slight increase. Now we're looking at pretty much everyone, with one exception, we're looking at 15 to 20 knot winds and seas 3 to 5 feet. So just like with Southeast, where Wednesday is going to be a little bit rougher out there, Wednesday is also going to be a little bit rougher in the South Central marine areas. Okay, looking at the Alaska Peninsula and Kodiak Island, we're looking at 10 knots with 2 to 3 foot seas. It's pretty good actually, south of the Alaska Peninsula, and then 15 knots for the north side of the Alaska Peninsula, even 20 knots over here north of Cold Bay, and 5 foot seas, 3 foot maybe down here, but generally 15, 20 knots, 5 foot seas. And then looking at Wednesday for the Alaska Peninsula and Kodiak Island, everyone's running 20 knots, even 25 knots here by Port Hayden with 4 to 7 to 8 foot seas. So just like everywhere else, on the southern coast, we're looking at increasing winds and seas for Wednesday. And then finally out here in the Aleutians, maybe I'll try to stand way over here this time, we're looking at 20 to 25 knot winds, a strong southeasterly flow coming around the low pressure here in the northern Bering Sea. Now this is for Tuesday afternoon, or Tuesday, and 20, 25 knots pretty much everywhere with winds from the southwest with 8 or so, 9 foot, even 10 foot seas. The rule, especially as you go farther west, maybe 5 to 8 foot seas on the eastern part, all the way over, say, to Dutch Harbor. And then finally on Wednesday, not much difference. Winds are going to be more from the west and less from the southwest. We're looking at 15 to 20 foot 15 to 20 knot winds with a little bit lower seas. So we're looking at 6, 7, a couple of 8 foot seas. So this is the one area where we're having a little bit, Wednesday is looking a little bit calmer by comparison than Tuesday did. And then finally for the West Coast, again, this is where the big story is. We've got our low pressure center way up here, and that's the counterclockwise circulation around it is driving winds from the southwest, and we got 30, 20, 30, 35 knot winds here, all up and down the coast. 6 foot seas, 7 foot seas, 12 foot seas over here by the Pribilofs. Actually, the Pribilofs are down here, but I guess that's by St. Matthew Island. Very, very rough conditions out here. Lots of hazards, probably some coastal erosion, coastal flooding even possible, but strong winds and high seas. And then for Wednesday, as the low pressure kind of starts to move inland, the nearshore water winds will actually get a little bit weaker. Remember that low pressure was going to go from like 973 millibars to 986 millibars. That means it's weaker. There's a lower pressure gradient, so we're going to have lower winds. 20 knots, 20 knots, 25 knots. Here again, 30 knots over by St. Matthew Island, 25 down by the Pribilofs. And the seas are going to be a little bit smaller, 5 feet, 6 feet, maybe 7 feet along the coast from Bristol Bay up to Norton Sound. And then finally, looking from the Bering Strait northward, up around the coast, remember we don't have ice on the coast here yet, so we've got open water. And so this is, we've got a fair amount of navigation still going on there. So on Tuesday, we got 30 knots from Nome, Kotzebue, Point Hope, Point Lay, 20, 25 knots, then 15 up to Updiogvik, and then 10 once we get over to Prudhoe, and even 5 over at Barter Island, Kaktovik. Seas, of course, here on the North Slope are generally, as is typical, pretty small. 5 foot seas, then even 6 foot once we get down to Nome. And then on St. Lawrence Island, 30 knot winds still with 9 foot seas, much more stormy there for sure. And then finally on Wednesday, we actually have an increase a little bit in winds and seas up here. Same up here where the low pressure now is actually closer. Even though the low pressure is weaker, it's actually closer up here. So we got some stronger winds, a little bit higher seas here on the North Slope. And then we've got kind of at peaking over here, and then this is actually a little bit weaker on Wednesday than it is on Tuesday. And this is now we're looking at offshore flow over here. So Tuesday we got the onshore storm, but by Wednesday we got the easterlies on the north slope, but the easterlies extend all the way down here to the northwest coast and the Seward Peninsula area. So a big difference on Wednesday over here versus on Tuesday. All right, well, that's all I've got for today's marine forecast. Thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, drop it in the comment section below. And I hope to see you again sometime soon. Thank you so much. Have a great day.